The book I read for my independent book talk was Cujo by Stephen King. Stephen King has said that he barely remembers writing this book because he was a very heavy drinker at the time. He also says he likes the book and wishes that he could remember it, because then he could have had all those great memories of writing it. Cujo is a book about the Cambers family dog that gets bit by a rabid bat while chasing a bunny. The conflict of the book is when Cujo slowly turns into an insane St. Bernard that murders people. The Trenton family is the main human focus of the story, however. Donna Trenton and her son Tad are going to get the car fixed while her husband Vic is on a business trip in Boston. During the trip to the Cambers' house, they notice that no one is home other than Cujo, a dog they once knew as a peaceful creature. I won't say any more about the main plot story because I don't want to ruin it, because it is a good book. The main characters of the books are Donna Trenton, Vic Trenton, Tad Trenton, Joe Camber, and Steve Kemp. Donna and Vic are married and live in Castle Rock, Maine. Their lives are pretty great. They have a nice house. Vic has an extremely popular commercial that's known as like a national treasure. Their son Tad is a great kid, and they're just happy with their relationship and happy with each other. Then everything starts to fall apart. Vic's commercial is under fire because the red dye is making kids' parents believe that their children are throwing up / pooping blood because the cereal for Vic's commercial is made with red dye. Another bad thing is Vic has to go to a business meeting in Boston right after he figures out that his wife is cheating on him with a local artist. And Tad hasn't been able to sleep lately because of the monster in his closet. So yeah, that's basically the Trentons. Donna is a very passive character. She doesn't really stick up for herself until the end. Donna is the main protagonist of the story, but not the only one. She's also a round, dynamic character. Vic, on the other hand, is not passive. He does what needs to be done, and he gets it done. Vic is a round, dynamic character as well. Tad is just a little kid, but he's a pretty big reason why Donna becomes dynamic. Tad is in between round and flat, and is a static character. There's debate that Tad could be a protagonist or a secondary character because of the problems he faces, but in my opinion, he's a protagonist because the challenges he faces they're extremely hard to overcome. Joe Camber is a father and a husband and a mechanic. He is a controlling husband, but he does let his wife go on vacation to visit her sister since she won $5,000 on a lottery ticket. Joe then proceeds to find out the power of Cujo. Joe is a secondary character who is round and semi-dynamic. Even though he isn't really a character as much as he's a conflict, I'll still talk about Cujo as a character. Cujo is the antagonist of the story. He is flat even though we don't know much about him. He is flat even though we do know stuff about him. We don't know much. He's also a dynamic character in the sense that he transforms into this monster. The story takes place in the fictional town of Castle Rock. Castle Rock is based off of Oxford County in Maine. There's also a small island in the real world. We're talking real world now, not the fictional Castle Rock, but there's a small island in the Shepscott River / Hockomock Bay in Maine called Castle Island, and right next to that small island is a small rock island called Castle Rock. And there were lots of big events that happened during the year the book was released, 1981, including Ronald Reagan becoming the 40th U.S. president. He also got shot in the left lung. Pope John Paul II was injured by a gunman. Anwar al-Sadat, president of Egypt, was assassinated. And the Oakland Raiders won the Super Bowl, which seems crazy now because they're terrible. I made a couple connections in this book, both being text itself. Cujo being bit by the rabid bat reminded me of the time that my dog got bit by a tick. Now, the tick not being nearly as bad as getting bit by a rabies-infected bat, but it still made that connection because both the bites can give a disease to the receiver of the bite. The other connection I made was of my trip to Maine. The setting of the story very much reminded me of the trip because a lot of the scenery in Maine is very quiet and there's a lot of small towns. There also seems to be a lot of redneck houses too, which comes up in the book like a couple times. An example of that is Joe Camber's best friend, Gary Pervier, whose house is an absolute mess. Just beer cans, cigarettes, like cans of dip all over the place. But I would definitely recommend this book to people who like the horror genre. There's something special that Stephen King can do, and he does it over and over again. And it's just like he's a master of the genre. No one can beat Stephen King for horror novels. He's just phenomenal. That's my book.
No, Cujo! No!